What's going on, world? It's your boy Kuya P. This is Nerds Rule the World, here for another amazing comic creator interview. I'm so excited. As you see on the screen, I have former detective, time traveling detective on Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, one of my faves. He was also on Robot Chicken, which I'm a huge fan of, and a host of other duties that he's done without the film industry and comic book world. Super excited for Kevin Shinick. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm great, thanks. I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
It is a pleasure, my friend. I'm a comics nerd. I'm also a film nerd, a filmmaker that went to comics and back and forth.
You and I
are cut from the same cloth, my friend. I love it.
We are. Especially looking at your background. We could be in the same room.
Definitely. So this project, you teamed up with another Carmen Sandiego favorite, former host, Gumshoe Detective, and Greg Lee. How did obviously you met in the world of Carmen Sandiego, but bumping heads and be like,
well, you'd be surprised though. You'd be surprised. I was the host of Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego, which came right after Where in the World that Greg hosted, and that was the late '90s. We didn't meet for like 20 years.
Oh,
even though our shows were back to back and we traveled in the same circles and everything. And it was a mutual friend who had a film festival or a film in a film festival we went to that we met for the first time, like maybe 6 years ago. And we hit it off famously, but we didn't really stay in touch. And then to get to your earlier question of like what this is all about, I throw a lot at the wall to see what sticks. I'm a writer, I'm an actor, I'm a host, I'm a VO guy, all sorts of stuff. And so I had this idea for a noir murder mystery because I love, like you said, I love film noir. There's so much that I love. And I thought, what can I do to bring it all together? And so someone said you should do a film noir like graphic novel. And I said, yeah, that's been done. What can I do that, breaks through that noise? And I thought, wait a minute. I used to play myself as a time-traveling detective. And I said, and Greg played himself as a classic gumshoe detective. I said, so I called Greg up and I said, Greg, I want to do a graphic novel about two fake detective game show hosts from the 90s who have to solve a series of real murders in the 1940s. And he was like, I'm in. So that was like, just right out of the gate, I thought, all right, he's my muse. He's on board. So I crafted this whole murder mystery that kind of circles the creation of that movie, The Big Sleep, which is the Humphrey Bogart film noir movie. And like I said, it encapsulates everything I love. It's random trivia because I thought, for whatever reason, the 90s, everybody was like a detective. It was Blue's Clues and Carmen Sandiego and Cluedo and, all these shows. People seemed to really like a guy in a fedora back then. So I thought we all have these random facts in our heads as hosts. And I said, wouldn't it be good if we could put that to use? So the question is, does it do any good to have all these random facts in it? Can we solve a murder? Can we do some good? And then that's what people have to pick up the book to see if we do or don't.
I love that. And you all can support in February 2025 on Kickstarter. But right now, before it even happens, make sure you follow the campaign. So when it launches, you could be there to especially catch the early rewards. Sometimes that's as Kickstarter creators, we do to like really get you in and going and support.
And we've tried to really be creative with the rewards. Like I said, I have a vast career in different areas of pop culture. So, the rewards go from everywhere, like owning a piece of the art to getting killed off in Postmortem or have your name or likeness mentioned. I said, look, I'm a VO guy. I was on Mad, Robot Chicken. I'm the voice of Bruce Banner across Marvel's animated universe. I'll lend my voice to your project, if you back us. That's one of the tiers. There's also, I'm a writer. I'll evaluate your script, your comic book, your feature film. Greg and I are really pulling out all the stops. We're offering up like personal videos and personal one-on-ones, all sorts of things. So like I said, I'm excited for people to check out the rewards.
I absolutely adore that. As a creative, filmmaker and one who does, try to support our community,
Yeah, we're all in this together.
Right. So I really appreciate that. And that's amazing of you, especially to the novices that want to break in to do things like that, to help people rising into the industry. That's just bravo. That's just
well,
amazing.
No, I appreciate it. Look, we're all in the same boat. The good thing about this business is you're rolling that rock up the boulder up a hill. It doesn't quite go. You need the help and the support of people. So like I said, Kickstarter is new to me. I'm not taking any money for this personally. I just want to get this book made. And to do that, I got to pay my artist, my letterer, my colorist, my printer, all that stuff, all of whom I'm so blessed to have. And I have to mention, Damian Torres is my main artist. You know, he is a phenomenal guy, phenomenal artist. When I saw the pages, I was like, it's exactly what I'm looking for. Pippa Boland does the colors. Taylor Esposito does the lettering. And so, you know, and we recently teamed up with Clover Press, who, if you're a fan of comics, you know, they do a lot of compilations of like great artists and things. And so we're putting together like what I think is really an amazing team. So the whole point of the Kickstarter is to get this into your hands, because this is some of the best work I've ever done as a comic book writer. And I've written for The Flash, for Guardians of the Galaxy, for Spider-Man, for Batman. And, you know, this, I'm just coming alive and really trying to put everything into it.
I love it. And what an amazing team and such credentials. Come on, y'all. You got to support this. And I got to tell you, man, just hearing how this kind of came together, this genesis of, you know, you guys were different time periods of hosting Carmen Sandiego.
Yeah.
And only 6 years ago, you know, a little bit right before the pandemic, this is crazy cool. It's a nerd dream. This is Nerds Rule the World. You're on Nerds Rule the World. This is a nerd dream. I love it.
I love the title, and I love your hat that says "Make History," because that was what Carmen Sandiego is all about. You know, it was about history and time traveling and learning these things. And what's so funny is when I go back and watch that show, my daughter is 14, and so she watches that show now. It's not dated because the quizzes were all about history, but what is dated are the rewards. Because like the winner got a giant multimedia computer system, which I'm sure you needed a U-Haul to get home. You know, it's all and floppy disks and all those things. So it's pretty funny to look back at that now.
Yeah, it's the rewards, the clothing, and the hairstyles that we can never take back.
It's so true. It's so true. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh
no, you go ahead. I'm going to stop. You go.
No worries. I love it. We're creatives. We're hosts. We're writers. We talk. When we mash up, we have fun. So you came up with the idea. You hit up Greg. I want to talk to you on a creative standpoint.
Yeah.
Because it's different writing a comic, whereas writing a film or a TV show.
Absolutely.
When you decided to do this, what was it like working with Greg, and the exchange of ideas? To put the scripts together and like how long is this book? You know, generally a comic book is 24 pages. Graphic novel is like about 4 issues put together in one sometimes.
It's exactly what it is.
Can you give me some kind of breakdown of how it came together?
Absolutely. So Greg is my muse, I always like to say, because he's quick to say he's not writing it with me. But I do use him because I said we only met like 7 years ago, but we have such a rapport, and he and I became best friends, and like we're brothers. So the fun doesn't stop there, and I was trying to capture the relationship we have in the comic as well. And I say comic, but it is a graphic novel. It's going to be 180 pages or more. It's basically 4-ish issues broken down over that that amount of pages. But I'm such a film buff and a history buff that there are certain things that as hosts we now know that people didn't know in the past, or the general public knows things that they didn't know in like 1947. For instance, The Big Sleep. If you're a fan of that movie, maybe you know that it's listed as having come out in like 1946, but it really was finished in 1945, and they showed it with like in the army, you know, like a preview audience. Then they went back in and recut it because they wanted Bogart and Bacall to have more scenes together. But in doing that, they also recast some people. So my mind started thinking like, what if the person who wound up with the part got murdered? Would the world know that there was someone else who had that role earlier, and would they be a suspect? So it kind of pieced together as I was going about it. And you know, if I can say to anybody who's coming up as writers and comic book artists and stuff, I always say, find your flavor, find what you like to do, and infuse it into what you're doing, what your art is. And that's what Host Mortem, I think it's the first time I mentioned the title. Host Mortem is the title of this because I think it encapsulates it in a tongue-in-cheek kind of way, in a fun way. But it's everything I love. It's history, it's time travel, it's game show knowledge, it's movies, it's comedy, it's Comic-Con, because we discover this time portal at Comic-Con. So it's almost like if you know that movie, The In-Laws, you know, where there's two personalities which don't exactly fit together, but we're stuck in 1947 trying to solve these mysteries together. And it's been a blast so far. And again, like I said, the artwork is coming out great. I've got some wonderful variant covers that I'm offering up to, but I also have a couple of celebrity artists who are coming in to do some work on this and throw another cover at it. So that's why you want to follow as well, to be the first to hear about these things when we announce them.
All right, y'all, follow, follow, follow. I love this. Again, the link will be in the description. Make sure you go over to Kickstarter to be ready for when it launches. So please support
Absolutely.
this campaign. As a creative, the nerd hat comes on because this is different than most of the scripts with what you're doing, because
Totally.
you're adapting somewhat a film where you're inspired by The Big Sleep. So you want to have that in there. Maybe even this is where I'm a Sin City guy. What are some other films where they try to capture some of the graphic novel when they went to the film version? And so did you try
even
to
anything
put
like LA
scenes
Confidential
from Big Sleep in there?
I
trivia component.
Trivia is a big part of it because you also got to be careful because I don't have the rights to The Big Sleep. You know what I mean? So I could mention it. I can say how it influenced me. I'm not crossing any copyright in the comic book. I don't steal scenes from the movie. It's more of the idea of knowledge that we have, because everything I told you about that earlier cut, I think really became public knowledge in 1997 when they found the actual cut. So prior to that, no one knew it even existed. So it's just a question of and this is the tagline of the book, which is, are hosts really smart, or do they just have the answers? And it's kind of like we like the rest of us have these answers in front of us for anybody who wants to take a look at them. It's just that we know more now than we did back in the 1940s. But writing comics to me is such it's the most intimate relationship with your artist.
Yeah.
I've written for movies and television and book and novels and graphic novels and sort of stuff, but working with a artist, because the script is practically, as a letter to your artist. In fact, many times I'll even write like, Damien, I'm thinking this here, or, and as you hope that collaboration sparks some magic, which I'm feeling it does, because I'll be very specific in what I'm looking for, but I also know that I want Damien to come in and maybe plus it, put his spin on it, and that always, you can't lose when that happens.
Definitely. Yeah. I just love the process of creating comics versus although I love filmmaking, you kind of just let things go in filmmaking, but when in comics, you're like connecting, you're on Zooms or you're back and forth, and
totally.
It is so intimate, as you said, and you just kind of hope in your artists that they rock it. And then I don't even like to finish the dialogue until afterwards. Sometimes I have some sample dialogue, but then I want to let the art breathe, because I don't want to encapsulate with so many word balloons sometimes.
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's interesting because you like I said before, you have to find something you love in this, no matter what project you're working on. I always find something. Like, they came to me to do The Flash recently. Not recently, it was I think 2019. And they said they posed it like this: everything that's ever been worth doing with The Flash has been done. Do you want to jump on board and try something new? And I was like, well, that's a way, it sounds kind of discouraging, but I said, absolutely, I want to try. Yeah. And the great thing about it was, what the run I was jumping on was all about Barry Allen. And when I was growing up, Barry Allen was my guy, so I said to myself, well, what do I love what did I love as a child about that? And for me, it was specifically about his ring. And so I was like, gosh, have they ever explained how he created that ring or whatever? And I went through all the lore and all the Wikipedias, and no one ever had. So I thought, fantastic. I can bring something to the table that not only interests me, but that will shape how, we see the Flash moving forward. So I always tell people, find something, because a lot of times you don't even have the luxury of creating your own stuff. Sometimes it's a job. And sometimes you're handed something, and sometimes either you're lucky to have a job, you're like, I wouldn't have chosen this one. But you have to find what you love about that topic, because it'll show through in the work.
Definitely. So in regards to trivia, so coming up with the trivia elements for Postmortem, so you put together the script, the storyline, you break it down, you infuse your elements of Big Sleep, but then injecting these trivia pieces. What kind of a process was that? Or did it inspire through writing the story?
It kind of was a journey that I went on, literally as a character, but also as myself writing it, because you try and figure out like what things stayed with me. There are facts that I have, I mentioned in this one article where, the singular of spaghetti is spaghetto. You know what I mean? Like, who knows that and who cares? But these are the things that are stuck in my brain. I'm sure something more important has been pushed out because of that. But that's why it's kind of a tongue in cheek of like, can these two guys hobble together enough information to solve a murder mystery? Because they were known as detective hosts, so they got to put it to the tests. And the funny thing too is host mortem has kind of spawned a number of things for me already. And I thought, all right, well, how will I promote the book once I get it going? I thought, oh, well, I can go to Comic-Con and do a panel. All right, what would a panel look like? Well, I happen to know a lot of nostalgia hosts or people who have been hosts. I said I can get them to come. And I thought, wait a second. This sounds like a game show to me, like a live action improv game show. And so starting next year, I'm going to do a couple of live performances, bringing on, hosts that you grew up with. I got some folks from Blue's Clues, from, Mark Summers has expressed interest. And because what I find funny is there is a connection between hosts and like detective spy work. That movie, what was the name of it? It was Sam Rockwell playing the host of The Gong Show, where he was really a spy,
Yes. Yeah.
Vanessa Lachey is the host, and yet she's a detective on NCIS.
I think
Wheel of Fortune.
There we go. We had a little bit of a delay there, Kevin, but you're back.
All right, gotcha.
No worries.
Pat Sajak left Wheel of Fortune. The first thing he announced he's doing is to play in a play in Hawaii where he's in the very first play that created Columbo. So there seems to be like this genre, this game show gumshoe genre that I'm tapping into, that all these hosts, we all have a desire to kind of like put these facts to better use than we're just using them now.
I love it. I'm so down for this. Like I'm heading out to Sandiego Comic-Con, returning next year, so hopefully I can catch this at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
But this is totally my bag as a fan of game shows and
of
everybody
course,
you mentioned.
yeah.
And this comic just seems so amazing. And you kind of took a question from me a little bit. How is this going to spawn maybe going forward? I know it's going to be successful. We're going to all support it come February 2025, but this combination and this working team with you and Greg and or what could come forward from post mortem.
Post mortem. Good. It's a tongue twister. Well, like I said, once the graphic novel is done, I realized that this could also be a great series of just straight up novels, which is just my point of view. So I'm working on that. The Greg and I are working on a podcast, a Host Mortem podcast, where we're going to talk about all things game shows and mysteries and kind of that genre. And like I said, this live show, which is already shaping up to be a great fun, which we'll take around. Hopefully, we'll take around the city. We'll take around the country, maybe depending on the interest. But it's amazing when you land on something that inspires you. I was struggling with the title of this because I was like, well, we do a lot. We don't have the rights to certain things. So you don't want to call it certain things. And literally was doing the dishes and I was like, Host Mortem. And I was like, oh my God, that makes me so happy on so many levels. And so once I thought this could be many things. And that's what's happening. It's unfolding in that way.
I love it. I love it when the apple hits the head and just all the energy starts flowing. It's amazing. It's
absolutely
such a universal experience. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. And the great thing is,
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Remind. I was just going to say, the great thing about it is this is a graphic novel because the people who grew up with Greg and I watching Carmen Sandiego are all adults now. So we want adult things, so I don't want anybody to be confused and think it's a kid's show or a kid's novel. It is it's dark. It's got murder. We don't hold back. It's got time travel, game show, comedy, film noir. It's all those things. So if you like any of those things, like I said, I would suggest going and following us on Kickstarter.
There you go. And that would be me. And I know that's a lot of y'all that are watching this right now. So again, links will be in the description below. Go follow the campaign until it starts February 2025. Support my man, Kevin Shinick and Greg Lee.
Yeah.
Host Mortem. Before we get up out of here, my nerddom can't escape me right now. I'm looking at your amazing wall like you were looking at mine behind me.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I see all the comic art. You have some beautiful pages back there.
I do. Rafa Garas did my first Batman comic, and I love his style, so I grabbed that. Aaron Cooter did my first. I did Spider-Man and Deadpool. So he did that. You know, I turned Mad Magazine into an animated sketch comedy show on Cartoon Network. So my gift to my cast and crew was to have them immortalized in the mad style of Mort Drucker. So we did that. But you know what's so funny? And I've said this before, but you know, whenever I do a comic book, I always try and buy a page from the artist because I want a memento of that. But they're becoming increasingly rare because all artists use tablets now.
It drives me nuts.
And so they'll do commissions at Comic-Cons. But if you want an actual, I know, right? So if you want an actual page from this actual story, you have to, and which is why I said to Damien, can you do a number of pages just by hand? Because I'd love to offer these off as rewards. So again, they're becoming few and far between, and they're becoming priceless things that you'd want to have on your wall. You know what I mean? I'm so glad I grabbed the ones that I did because they're not always going to be there. But again, check out our rewards for Host Mortem because we got really creative and we're having a lot of fun with it. You know, I'll mention you can also follow me at Kevin Shinick, whether it's Twitter or I should call it X now, I guess, and Instagram, you know, hostmortem.com. You can go to kevinshinnick.com. I'm all over the place.
There you go. I was going to ask you that as well. So thank you, Kevin. You know what's up. You know what's up. I love it.
Yeah, I know what's up. I know how to work it, right?
I completely agree. My hallway down into my studio is filled with my artist collaborations when I worked in comics.
Nice.
And you're so right. And it drives me crazy that we can't get the material anymore because, like you said, they're all doing it on pads. But
yeah, but you know, if you work with comic book artists, you can specify, hey, I'd love to buy this from you, or I'd love to auction this off, or whatever. Can you do this one? And I find all of them are like, oh yeah, because I just did. What did I do? I did a Web of Spider-Man graphic novel, and I was like, oh, can I grab this? Not thinking he was on his tablet, and he was like, oh, I wish you would asked ahead of time. I could have done that on paper. And so now I know. Now I always speak up.
I feel that. So wonderful. And that's probably the tier I'm going to bid on, and you should get on it as well, y'all. The Kickstarter campaign for I'm going to mess up the name. I was going to say Host Mortem will launch in February 2025, but you can follow the campaign right now so that you can be aware when the launch happens. The amazing Kevin Shinick. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate your time.
Of course.
All of Kevin's links will be in the description below. Please come back when new projects come forward.
Absolutely.
I want to give you your virtual flowers, and I hope to be at some of these events that you're going to have in 2025.
And look, before we hit 2025, I'm going to be at Con Alt Delete in Chicago on the weekend of December 20th through 22nd. So if you're around there, it's great for last minute Christmas shopping. So come meet me there.
There you go. The amazing Kevin Shinick. I'm Kuya P. This is Nerds Rule the World. All right, Kevin. Rolling in about 10 to 15. Good with you?
I'm fine with it. I cleared my afternoon for you.
You're the best. All right, let's have some fun. Here we go. We are rolling in a 1, 2, 3.
Pleasure chatting with you. Love to all my nerds who rule the world.
Yeah. Nerds rule the world.
Yes, we do.
Thanks. Nerds rule the world.
Thank you.
I love the nerds ruling the world. So more power to you.
Patrick, what up, man? And yes, they do. Nerds rule the world, kid.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Awesome. Kuya P, Nerds Rule the World. Hello.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
Oh,
Nerds Rule the World.
I got.
It's in the title of your show, like Nerds Rule the World. Like, I want more black weirdos on screen, and I don't feel like we ever get to see that very much.
Thank you so much. Nerds do rule the world.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Nerds Rule.
Love it.
It's your boy Kuya P. Nerds rule the world. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you.
do. They rule the world all right.
Yes. Take care, Tony. Thank you, guys.